Hi everyone, thanks for sticking with us. Also, just a word of warning that this is going to be in English, which I hope everyone is fine with. And without further ado, thanks for joining us. This session is going to be about a successful exit, which is a nice segue with the previous session, actually for nearly 300 million, when Onum was acquired by CrowdStrike, where Pedro now works, and we're going to talk about that as well. But we also have Henry here from Dawn Capital, who had led the Series A. And what I find particularly interesting is that it's a really short journey, I mean, compared to most companies. So we want to cover how fast all that happened. And another thing I find really interesting is that it's not Pedro's first company, not even first unicorn, I guess. So we're going to dive into that first. Maybe, Pedro, if you can briefly introduce yourself and just explain Devo and also Onum, and now your role at CrowdStrike.
Yeah, thank you. So well, I built my first company in 1996. Just was a professional services company in cybersecurity. After that, 11 years at Bankinter, running security and innovation. And I leave Bankinter to found Devo with Phi College. Has been 11 years at Devo, and we reached 2 billion valuation. And I leave Devo to build Onum. That has been, as you said, a very short trip,
yeah.
but a good one. So.
And let's fast forward. What's your current role? Because you're still at CrowdStrike, right?
Yeah. So totally out of the blue, I do believe that an exit or sell the company is a consequence. It's not something that you need to go after. Mm-hmm. But yeah, arrived too early, and everybody is happy, has been happy with the decision, also the investors. So.
Great. And Henry, maybe a word also about Dawn Capital, because I think we have founders in the room. So.
Yes, I'm Henry. I'm a partner at Dawn Capital. We're a venture capital firm based out of London, and we back founders building B2B champions that are born in Europe but have global ambitions, and Onum is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive a bit deeper. What's the backstory? I mean, you mentioned entrepreneurship, Bankinter. So what led you to found Onum, Pedro?
I used to say that Onum is kind of a consequence of Devo. So at Devo, I spent 11 years. Devo is an analytic platform. And in those years, we really understand the problems that the customer have sending data to an analytic platform. Send data that has no value, but you pay all data at the same price. And all the difficulties that the customer has to distinguish the signal from the noise. So when you are so close to customers, and I decide to leave Devo for a number of reasons, because you know the problem, have a very intimate connection with the problem. So I decided just to leave Devo. A big part of my team came with me to found Onum. So you know the problem, you have the funds just to build an amazing investor, so it was the easy path, a consequence of Devo. So.
And maybe just to segue on that, because it's also a company that's based in Madrid, and I think that something we want to discuss. So how was it building in Spain?
I think that Spain is an amazing place to build a company, especially in tech. So we have a lot of talent, a lot of creativity, and we redomesticate both companies to US, and I also said that we never be jealous for the talent in other countries compared with the talent that we have here. We have exactly the same. Sometimes that we don't believe all the talent and all the capability that we have in Madrid or in Spain, just to build a company. But in terms of knowledge, engagement, the team with the company and the company with the team, is for me is one of an amazing place. Probably not the best. I don't know all of them.
Yeah.
But zero challenge on that.
And actually, my bad, but I forgot to mention your co-founders. So maybe tell us a bit how you met them, how you built that team.
Pues Lucas Varela and Pedro Tortosa, very different one to each other. So Pedro is quasi co-founder of Devo because he reached be an investor in the company too early. So when we were 3 years old or something like that, so early days.
Honorary co-founder.
Yeah, almost. And Pedro is also founder of multiple companies. So for me, Pedro all the time has been kind of my right hand, the only person that I can share my problems as CEO, the strategy, the difficulties. So when he left Devo a little bit before than me, so it was it was a easy decision.
Yeah.
And Lucas very different because Lucas I meet Lucas because Lucas worked at CaixaBank at that time, and Caixa was a customer of Divo. And we start knowing one to each other. And when I decide to leave Divo, we have a great relationship. And he pushed me, hey, why we don't do something together? And I tried to convince them 1 year to, you don't want to do that, this is too hard. You are in a very good place at CaixaBank, so take care. So Onum has been very rare for the success, so it's not easy. But because he insists, pues, we continue, we find the right angle, because what finally Onum does is not the same that we start thinking at the very beginning. And was an amazing complement for the three of us, very different, one to each other, but very complementary.
Yeah.
So an amazing founding team.
That's a perspective from the inside, but I want to hear it from the investor's perspective. What did you see in the two Pedros and Lucas?
I think when we're looking at founding teams, it's not only the person in charge, but as we've just been talking about, it's the balance and complementarity of skill set, of mindset. And I think in this founding team, we had very clear lanes that people were in. So that always gives you confidence, because I think for startups, a common failure mode, as you say, can be just one person who calls all the shots. But I think at Onum, there's a mutual respect built over a decade between these three that meant that they could delegate things and just trust for execution.
Mm-hmm. Also, I guess they're both, the three of them are quite senior, right? Is that something you think the market is mistaken about? I mean, do you like founders with experience? What's your preference? What do you look for in a founder?
I mean, to take the long view, right? We're now in a fortunate position, not only in Spain, but more generally in Europe, where we do have people who are going on the journey a second time. Maybe they have founded something, or maybe they've been involved in a very successful journey before as an exec. So that is always wonderful to take what you've learned and bring it back into the ecosystem. And of course, all things being equal, that's what you want. But ultimately, we're just optimizing for drive and passion and obsession with a problem. And that can be someone who's never worked on it before, but is just unreasonably obsessed with that idea. So we don't have any hard filters. You can't do that. Otherwise, you end up investing by a checklist and by numbers, which never works. You've got to just pick the people that spike in something and just back them.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, not working by numbers, but I know you also use tech, so I'm curious to know how you found them. Is it an algorithm? Is it you?
Well, we didn't ever find Onum, right? We found a company called Signalit, which, yes, Pedro likes to stress me out, because we did all this work on a company called Signalit, which we'd originally found doing a regular market deep dive into content delivery networks. What comes next after Cloudflare and Akamai and all that. This was in 2023. And Signalit came up in this research, and we thought, oh, this sounds interesting. And we looked into the team behind it and thought, they sound interesting. So it's the combination of thesis-led initially, and we turned up, with a very strong thesis about content delivery networks. And I'm not even joking. Like, between landing in Madrid and arriving at the meeting, our first meeting, the company changed its name, the whole website changed, and the entire value proposition changed. So then we were extremely stressed, because we had all these slides and all this research ready about why this was a great problem to go after. And you pulled the rug from under us that morning. So what ended up, and here's another thing you did. You may not remember this, but I get very stressed about this. We had a meeting set, which was our primary reason for traveling to Madrid from London. And we didn't want to seem too keen, like we'd just come for this one meeting, but we had, in reality, just come for this one meeting. And again, not only were we stressing at the airport when we landed about trying to figure out what this company now does, which has changed, and the name's changed, but also we got a call from Pedro's wonderful EA who said, I'm sorry, something's come up, Pedro can't meet in town anymore, can we cancel the meeting? Alternatively, he'll be at home, which is, outside Madrid, you probably don't want to go there, so let's just cancel it and do it another time. And we were like, right, we've got to go to this guy's house. We've come all this way. So we showed up, and I think we spent 3 hours in your kitchen finding out what it was you actually wanted to do, which then led to about between 3 and 6 months of collaborative research, saying, okay, you're not doing what we thought, you have new plans, rather than saying, tell us what those are and then we'll decide if we like them, it was more, let us, as prospective investors, work with you and for you to validate that market thesis, talk to your prospective customers, talk to the competitors, and make it a collaborative activity. So that's what we ended up doing for the next few months. And then when we came back, we had a really productive joint discussion. So it was we never targeted Onum. We targeted a space we liked. It evolved with us discussing, and then when it came to a term sheet, it wasn't like a term sheet and a fundraising exercise are quite performative processes and hiding a lot of things. But for us, the investment decision was really just the culmination of working together for 6 months on it.
Mm-hmm. I see. It's funny because I see all the bluffing and trying to hide your game, but I think, Pedro, you could see through it, right? When they came to your house, you're like, okay, those are quite keen on working with us.
It wasn't exactly that we pivot or change. The question is that Lucas, for me, was a new person. So I know him as a customer. So when we decide to do something together, because there is some months of difference between I was leaving Divo, I say, okay, let's do the following. Build a company by yourself. Let's do this. That is 100% complementary what I want to build. Let's start working together. And if everything went well, let's join the companies.
Oh.
So it was a way as to demonstrate one to each other that we can work together. And you arrive in the middle of that. But it's absolutely true. So the meeting was scheduled for 1 hour. We were 3 hours discussing. It was a great meeting. And we are here today.
Mm-hmm. And without going too technical, but did it take a lot of convincing? Because you came there, you also had that thesis on CDNs. So did they disprove you? Like, told you, no, we're off that. It's not good.
But they learned everything on that meeting.
Yeah.
I think the reality was there was no correct answer at that point about what Onum wanted to do. It was a space that had been validated by one incumbent already, but it was still super new and fresh. So it was a genuine piece of discovery. And when we talked to people that could be future buyers or that had tried things out, they didn't say, yes, here's the answer. Gartner couldn't tell us the answer. We had to come back and say, here's a bit of doubt, and here's a thing that changes that. So it really felt more like strategizing on the future rather than like, we've proved your thesis right, or we've proved your thesis wrong. And when we had invested, we didn't say, right, we're definitely doing this. It was more, do you remember in diligence, this was a topic, so let's experiment on that and figure out if that's valid. So it was really just a continuation of that into the future.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting because, I mean, you mentioned that because that's how you work, but not all VC firms work like that. So, Pedro, why did you like this approach where you're almost like co-building the company or really working closely together in the beginning?
With the founders or with the...
With Don.
Oh, I think that I remember perfectly when we made the trip to London and in that meeting with your whole team, that they demonstrate to us a lot, because they did a deep analysis of the market, all the companies, all the competitors. They present a set of slides with unbelievable material for us. So it's, hey, these guys really know our space, has been do the homework very, very well. And the last slide was, and we want to invest in you, before anything else. So it was very, very clear for us that they really want to enter in this space, and this demonstrated to us a lot on that meeting. We came from this trip with 4 term sheets.
Okay.
With 4 term sheets, first brands, all of them, and after spend some time with my co-founders, of course, but also with Kivo, with the other investor, I decided to choose Don, and so and it was absolutely the right decision.
And what about you, Henry? What gave you that conviction to write that last slide?
I think there's 2 things that are fundamental to making a good venture investment. Is the problem that this team is pursuing worthwhile? If it all plays out, is the payoff big enough? That's one aspect, and we'd validated that. And the second one was, and can you execute against this? So because we've been building that relationship with a while, we knew the track record of the team. We had high conviction in, not only is it a good idea, but they understand how to build a big global business, network, ambition to enter the US already. already signing US customers is key, because just being number one in Spain doesn't get the full potential of the company that we need to unlock. So that was what gave us conviction.
That's great. And I mean, you said building something of value. So Pedro, maybe talk to us about the acquisition. I mean, what did CrowdStrike see?
As I said at the beginning, so was totally out of the blue. We never been looking for an acquisition too early. For us.
It was how many months? Years, months?
The total life of the company has been 3 years.
Yeah.
So 3 years, and we spent more than 1 year building the product. So 1 year in the market. So no, when they arrived to us, we were thinking in do a partnership, and we talk a lot about a partnership. The question is that we have a first meeting with George and Mike Centonas, and they look extremely interested and say, okay, let's explore to see if we can reach to this partnership, because they have already at that time a partnership with the biggest competitor of us. So remove them and use us, which will be amazing. But after the due diligence, they decide that this is so strategic for them, and that they cannot have this as a partnership. Because we were looking for that, but when they send the term sheet, but we negotiate a little bit, take decisions, a lot of conversation. But looks that everybody is happy with that for multiple reasons. The price, was for a company so young, was great. But more important, we land in one of the best or the best cybersecurity company in the world.
Yeah.
And that's something that for me
Maybe you
was...
wonder that. I mean, it's a public company.
Well, CrowdStrike is the second biggest player in cybersecurity. The first one in EDR, the other one is Palo Alto, more focused in firewall. So it's the company that has a more holistic approach for cybersecurity, AI in these days, 11,000 people. So. Almost 200 billion valuations.
But at the same time, I mean, for you as an entrepreneur, it's a big change, right? So how did you make that decision that you're going to work for a huge company instead of...
Well, I tried, and was the right decision to don't think too much on that, not thinking on me. Because the biggest company that I worked was Bank Inter, and it was 3,000 employees. It was 11,000 employees, that size, globally distributed, is a game changer. No. So it's very, very different of what I used to do. But for the team, it's almost the same. So the team came with me to CrowdStrike, working with me. They like the company. I like the company. Like the style. Like a lot the culture of the company. That is something that for me is very relevant. And so analyzing all the aspects was the right decision. Yeah. And I realized that the change for me right after the
yeah. And did you call Henry to tell him, okay, we have this offer? What do you do?
Of course. The first moment that we start the conversation, I update them continuously during the whole process. Hey, we want to have a partnership, but this is moving to this. The discussion are moving to this. So when we finally get the term sheet, wasn't a surprise for anybody. No. So we were looking it finally arrived the term sheet and the terms and the price, but not the process. They has been updated continuously during the whole process.
I think the way that you're pitching for a partnership is also exactly the same way of pitching for an M&A, because I remember you wrote a strategic document which was, imagine I am the person in CrowdStrike who's deciding whether to partner with Onum. What's the point of it? What does it unlock, you know? So then it was all about really going deep into thinking from the other side of the table. Why does this make sense? What does it mean in terms of how it impacts CrowdStrike's product, CrowdStrike's financials? And then that then becomes, unintentionally, or coincidentally as well, a sort of framework for them to decide whether to acquire the company. So I think that while you weren't planning for an exit, everything that you're doing in order to be a commercially driven leader, thinking about partnerships, means that you are also pursuing that course as well.
Yeah. Do you need to tweak that pitch in any way with that afterthought that, okay, maybe they want to acquire me down the line as well? Do you guide founders?
I think they've got to think about you as future colleagues as well, right? So you don't want to be too hard to negotiate with on a partnership if they're also like, oh, could I ever work with this person long term? So it's a bit of a fine balance between managing that, but you also want to make sure that you don't undervalue yourself or lose executive authority. You know.
And
Yeah,
was
okay.
clear during the process
Yeah.
that if I was on the other side of the table, I will never do a partnership. Because for CrowdStrike, we are now kind of a neural part of the product. So that doesn't make sense, and was very clear during the process. So we start being ready. Hey, if this continues, this is what could happen. So let's be ready. And we start having the conversation with all the investors about what do you think about that? What's the price? That we cannot say no. So of course we can try just to get as much as possible. So during the process, right before we get the term sheet.
Yeah, because of course that's part of the investor view. You don't want their startups to sell too early either. Even if it sounds attractive to them, you need a certain number, right? But in this case, you need to have that conversation.
I think when we do an investment, we want to be convinced that it has the potential to become a massive outcome and has all the ingredients in terms of the market, the team, and so on.
Yeah.
But we just have to then see what happens on the ground. And in this case, the reason we'd invested in this category at all was that it was a perfect storm of data volumes growing exponentially, data budgets growing, flat or kind of a little bit. And so that we love these moments of a massive imbalance where therefore there's a need for someone to come along and be the arbitrage. And with Onum's genius was, what everything Pedro and the team had learned in the previous company, a lot of the analysis and cost is not actually driving any value. So Onum was the perfect time, and with the AI data wave that then came along and just made the problem 10, 100 times more acute, we didn't really know that would be the exact moment to create the perfect conditions that CrowdStrike would need to acquire Onum. It was something that was sort of we couldn't plan for. So you plan for here, and then you see what happens, and then if at some point along the journey there's the best moment, then you got to go for it. That's it.
And I know it was a short journey, but Pedro, where would you say that Dawn added more value? Was it in the beginning with that thinking on the idea, or guiding you through, because they've seen more exits than you have, so of course there's that as well.
During the whole process, we were, perhaps not daily, but almost, so discussing everything, because of course they made all the investors, because we have 3 investors, Dawn, Kibo, and Insight Ventures, so all of them make a lot of exits. So they have a lot of experience understanding the dynamic of this. So it has been extremely helpful. Yeah. All the comments and all the nuances.
It's much easier to do an exit when someone wants to buy the company, though. So that's you can't exit it unless you've got a great thing.
True. And were there any times that you wish, okay, maybe I wish those investors would leave me alone or make my own decision, or not really?
At the end, never is your decision. So you need to think in everybody. At the end, our goal is create value for the employees, for the investors, for everybody. So having all this conversation with everybody was clear that the value, different levels, of course, but was more than enough for everybody. And Dawn behaves in an amazing way, because at the beginning they entered in the last round, so it's the less multiple. And Henry, I remember that one day said, Pedro, you don't need to feel bad about this. This is a great exit for us. Yeah. So perhaps will be amazing if we can continue some years, but this happened. It's an amazing exit. The company that is acquiring you is amazing, so don't feel bad at all. And this reduced my stress.
Yeah, as entrepreneurs, we don't always realize also the math from the investors, because actually it's not just multiple, but you probably have a factor for time as well, because it's great return.
We think about it, in multiple ways, but ultimately, our job is to turn a smaller amount of money into a larger amount of money. It's not that sophisticated, really. When we got to think about different ways to do that and the best opportunities.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Pedro, you said you also saw it that way in a sense, like finding the best home for the company. But how's CrowdStrike for you as your new home?
Well, it's a different world. But CrowdStrike has an incredible number of customers. So this is a learning process for me. So because now you can learn about the customer needs, cybersecurity, nowadays with AI, from the best position in the world, analyzing real problems from real customers, all sizes that are using as crazy Onum platform, but not only. So for me, it's been a journey
Yeah.
of learning lessons that will give something good for the future.
Yeah, and let's say with a big if, but if you were to build something else, what would it be? What gap do you see in the market? Which is the
Because
corona
there's something in the same space. I think it's the only thing that I know how to do.
one. Fair enough.
So data for cybersecurity, I continue believing that it's an amazing space. Cybersecurity is always about data.
Yeah.
And what is happening today with AI, with Claude, with all these things, just open a new world of possibilities. So if I do something in the future, who knows? Pues
Okay.
will be in the same space. With different angles, same space.
That's a bit narrow. Henry, what else would you like to see?
As I said, these moments where there's a disjunction between, what people can pay for something and what they want to get out of that market is the perfect time to invest. So that translates across everything, whether it's services industries being changed with software and doing more, whether it's data, cybersecurity. There's so much disruption right now that there's absolutely no shortage of opportunities for us to go after. We just need to find the right markets and the right people who've found the way through, because that separates a great idea from a great company.
Great. And maybe as a final takeaway, I mean, what are you actually looking for in the company, especially in Spain? But as you said built from Europe and going global, right?
As I said at the beginning, we want to back entrepreneurs building B2B champions that are born in Europe but have global ambitions. And that doesn't matter if it's Spain or Belgium or anywhere else. So we need people that think big and that want to make a real dent.
Right, within B2B. And Pedro, maybe another word on the evolution that you've seen on the scene here, right? Because it has grown a lot. So what do you think people like Henry should notice about Spain and our entrepreneurs?
Well, I think that they know what they should know. So they invest in several companies
Yeah.
in Spain. It's a great place to invest. So I think that a lot of talent, a lot of loyalty and engagement in the company with employees with the companies, great culture, and nothing that we are missing from other countries. Sometimes the only thing is that we need to believe more on us, on our capability, that we look at the rest of the world like there is something special, but the same than us. But they know and we don't know about us. That's the only.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Believe in yourselves. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much.